Life Imprints podcast, legacy stories that live beyond. Turn up the volume on today's riveting story with your host, Kenny Mauck, at kennymauck.com, and leave your life imprint with your legacy story.
Coach, there's a saying that says, find a man or a woman who can teach you to run, fly, and bang over life's biggest hurdles, and I'll show you an impassioned person that's taught you how to overcome life's most difficult obstacles. And in my life, I've looked back in a very cherished way at my time as you as my coach, and today's a very special day for me. Kind of emotional just because I was looking at what you've done over the last 40, 50 years of your career here, and I wanted to just tell the people that I'm writing a book called Leaving Your Life Imprint, and you've made an imprint on my life, but I wanted to tell the folks that are listening just a little bit real quickly about what you've done. Coach Marsh, in your 21st year there at the University of South Florida, you specialize in the pole vault, high jump, shot put, and those kind of things in terms of the field events. And during your tenure, you have coached 7 All-Americans, 14 national qualifiers, 16 conference qualifiers, 16 conference champions, and 44 regional qualifiers. Coach, you were 3 years at Saginaw Valley, and you coached 4 All-Americans there, and high jump, and pole vault, and 400 meters. And then in the 25 years when you were my coach, you founded one of the more premier track and field programs in the state of Michigan. You were named Michigan's Track Coach of the Year in 74, 78, and 92. And I didn't know this, but you were named the entire Midwest Track Coach of the Year in 92 and a finalist that same year as the high school's Track National Coach of the Year and inducted into the Michigan Track Coaches Hall of Fame. That's a pretty big repertoire of your life, and I know that you don't talk about your allocate, but I do, and I want to just tell you what an honor it is to spend a few minutes with you this morning. Saying that, Coach, I want to know. You've been one of the biggest motivators in my life, and I wanted to know, in terms of your attribute in motivating folks like myself and other athletes that you've coached in track and field. What has been your motivation? Because you've motivated a lot of people to do a lot of things. What's behind that motivation?
Well, I just think of I say I have a lot of pride in what I do. And I try to instill that in my athletes also. Track and field and sports in general have been really, really important to me throughout my life. And I still have that desire to instill that in young people. And, Kenny, it's like I've been doing this for actually 58 years. I've been coaching. I started in 1960 with my first job as a high school coach. And it's just continued through the years, and I still get fired up every day to go to practice. I try to do that with my athletes also. I tell them how important it is to be focused at practice. I always try to come up with some inspirational words, especially every year. In the past, we've used words like pride and team and focus and legacy, and every year I try to come up with something like that for my athletes too, so that I try to, like I said, try to instill this sense of pride in what they do, and I think that's what kept me going. And like I say, I still can't. I'm starting practice soon, actually next week, and I can't wait to get to practice. I mean, I'm going on my 59th year of coaching, which a lot of my colleagues think it's a little crazy, but I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. I just can't wait to get to practice. So, it's just been a pride thing, I think, Kenny, more than anything.
Sure. Well, I got my U of M shirt on today just thinking about you, and
okay.
I was thinking, you're probably one of the most enthusiastic men and influences on athletes. I remember us getting prepared. We'd come out and we're doing our warm-up exercises and stretching out, and I look over and my coach Marsh is doing the same. You're over there, you're sprinting a little bit, or you're stretching out yourself, and I just thought, that's just who you are. You love you love track, and you love the track and field world. I mean, that's what I love about you. You're very passionate about it, and I think that came over to us as athletes and those that wanted to better ourselves. You motivate us to do better than probably we would have done, no question. We did greater things because of you. All the athletes, I'm speaking on behalf of all of them right now. I mean, we did things, whether it's in college or high school. You really showed us through your motivation and through your actions, not just by what you said, but you loved the craft that you had, that God had blessed you with, your gift of motivating people to do both individually and as a team, which has been a lot to me.
Well, I think, Kenny, that some of it's kind of selfish from my part, because I get so much out of it. I get so much great feelings from my athletes. These people come back, and I see them, in the future when they're married, have families, jobs, and all this is, kind of makes me feel good. It keeps me young. I work with young people all the time. So it's, kind of selfish on my part too, because it just really helps me personally. So there's just so many things that coaches can do to motivate people, and hopefully that once they leave, the track and field doesn't last that long for most individuals unless they're Olympic-style athletes. But I hope that some of these things that we do, and some of the ideas we talk about, and some of the things we continue to work on will carry over to their personal life when they leave the athletic field.
Well, and I think although you made us as individuals perform better, I think your idea about team. I thought what was really great about you, and I'll give away one of your coaching tips here. So don't.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't hit me, but so those coaches that are out there are business leaders. I know that field events, when before we would even get to the events where I would be running, we would have a great lead because you were so good at the field of at the long jump, the high jump, the shot put. We were ahead before we ever had a chance to even run. And I think that's really speaks well of you, because you had a plan and you perfected it. And the only thing I got real ticked off was not you, but I got mad at our teammates. So we lost one meet when I was either a sophomore or junior, I can't remember, and we broke we had a meet record of I don't know how many wins that you had. It happened. And when you called me to be captain, co-captain, me and Steve Cousins, I said one of the things is I don't want to lose any more meets. If I'm going to be captain,
right?
There's no more of that. We're gonna, and we didn't. But I just remember you encouraging us as a team, to cheer on each other, and I think that was we all did. I mean, we wanted everybody to do well, and not just our own events that we were in, which is sometimes an individual. People can get to individualize in a track team. So.
Well, I still try to do the same thing, even though over the years I've kind of cut back in some of the events I work in. Basically I'm just coaching pole vaulters now. I've got 13 pole vaulters at University of South Florida, which is a large number of pole vaulters as far as a college program. But also I try to, encourage all the other events, and so we have a well-rounded team. That was my goal in high school. I thought we could defeat other teams by having somebody in each event. And a lot of coaches, that's not their philosophy. They want to coach one event or two. But we always, and you mentioned the field events, that was something we specialized in, because a lot of schools didn't do that. They just worked the sprints or the hurdles or whatever, and kind of forgot about the field events. we'd come out of the field events with, so I remember regional coming out with over 50 points in the field events, which was more points than the majority of the teams scored in the entire meet. So a lot of that was due because I had really good people working with me too. I had some outstanding coaches. I always said that head coach is only as good as assistant coaches are. And I had some tremendous people. And Larry Wiltsey, our distance coach, Rod Johnson, who was with me from a number of years and you know well, was a great throws coach. Dave Teal worked with me, and some people that were really track and field people also. They weren't just football coaches that were just doing it in the springtime, but they were dedicated track and field people. So I had a lot of help. I really did along the way, and a lot of great people. So, but yeah, you're right. We tried to develop an entire program, not just one or two events. I wanted an entire team when we went out there, not just one or two events.
Sure. Well, Coach, legacy is not an event. It's a lifetime of different events that you are consistent about, and you possess some attributes that inspire people, not just in track but in life in general. And I think for me that was the greater thing. The imprints I think that you put on people like myself is, for instance, you saw something in me, and you saw something in Steve. Steve's a school superintendent. he was a school superintendent, and me, I've had, fortunately, been blessed to be a founder of 2 or 3 different companies, and one of those is a legacy company, and it's something that I realized, when I was going through some of my toughest times. I remember if I would fall on a hurdle or whatever, you would immediately come to me. Always an encourager, but you'd say, "Hey, forget about that. We got another race coming." And,
right.
That's
coincidentally, just a coincidence, but one of my sayings, one of the words I use. I told you I use a word each year. Actually, I order a T-shirt for my vaulters, and each year we have a word. In the past, it's been pride. In the past, it's been focus. In the past, it's been team. But last year, our word was legacy. And the legacy of what we've established in the past and what I want to continue in the future at our university, long after I'm not coaching anymore. But legacy was our word last year. It's emblazoned on their shirts that I gave them, and I think it's a very important word to continue a program that I'm proud of. And so we come up with that word, and you're using that word again, and which I think is a very, very important word in life. Yeah,
and that's why I'm writing the book, Leaving Your Life Imprints, because there was a time when a company was not paying me. I mean, to be honest with you, our payroll was over a good $90,000 a month, and we lost $100,000 a month on top of that one year, and it was awful. And a company owed us money, and I didn't even want to get up in the morning. But through that year, losing that much money every month, I remember, just again, those kind of experiences where, okay, this is a hurdle I've never really come across, but I've gotten up, and I'm going to get up, and I'm going to face the day. And at the end of the year, we got back about 75% of that we'd lost, but we had to go through legal means and everything. But I share that just to say that you never know what your influence. You're an influencer in my book. You're one of those 7 influencers who I look to say, hey, we're going to make it. And, God's blessed me with that stubborn will that I think I learned through track to say, hey, get up and run. And I was blessed to actually, I know I ran the first time. I think the 3:30 lows came out. That was the first event they'd even had in Michigan when they moved it to an event like 3:30. It was usually 180 lows, and then they moved it to a little bit longer. I just remember, that's a gut level. That last hurdle, you got to have some endurance. You feel like that bear's on your back, but you keep grinding. And I was able to.
Actually, Kenny, that's one of the toughest events. I consider that in the 800 meters, what's now the 300 meter hurdles, and in college is the 400 meter hurdles. Probably two of the toughest events in track and field. I mean, they're just physically demanding. You have to have the speed of a 400 person, hurdle ability, and some kind of endurance too. So it's a very, very tough event, and a lot of people get into it, and they get discouraged right away because it's so tough. But it is a great event, it really is.
Yeah. Well, the point I'm making is that it's the track is something beyond just your time there. It's something that I've even to this day when I go out on the track and just run for pleasure, it gives me a sense of pride to know that those early impressions you made on all of us as athletes, sticks with us. And I'm not the only one, I'm sure, who's told you this, but it's important. And I know it's been a sacrifice. You have a family, you have a wife, family, grandkids, and I know they mean the world to you. But you also you love your family, and I know the challenge that must be. But I'm sure, maybe tell me about that. What the sacrifices you made, but you've still been a good dad. You've still been a good grandfather, and you're still a good husband. So I'm just trying to know how does that all fit, because that's challenging for me, when I'm building companies, and I want to still be a good dad, a good father. But how is that? How that part of your life? How did that?
Well, that part has been that part's been pretty tough. I can remember many times missing things and so forth that probably I should have been at, but I was coaching, I was working with young men and so forth, and I've tried to still be a good father and now a good grandfather to my grandson. Was just with me not too long ago, and he's a pole vaulter, and he'll be a senior in high school, and I try to encourage him because I think athletics are really important. It keeps kids on the straight and narrow, gives them things to do that are beneficial. But anyway, I've tried to also, not only with my athletes, but my own children, to make sure that they're going to be good people in the future. And there's been times when I've missed things, and so there's been some sacrifices actually, and sometimes maybe my kids suffered a little bit by it. But I think they always knew that I was there for them, and I cared about them. And my oldest son was just here with us, and for actually about 12 days. He's on vacation, and some of my kids live far away, but I try to, keep in contact with them almost certainly weekly, sometimes even daily. So, and they're older now, but they're still my kids. And,
hey, Coach, while you're talking about them, share their names and
yeah, sure. My oldest son Jeff graduated from Eastern Michigan. He's a manager at a Walmart store in Detroit area. Second son David graduated from Eastern Michigan and also graduated from Florida State in law school. He's an attorney. He lives in Tallahassee, Florida. He has one child. Jeff, the older one, has two children. One, Jacqueline, my granddaughter, is a senior at Oakland University, and then she's going into nursing. My grandson, Jeff's son, will be a senior at Romeo High School. Back to David, his son is 8th grader or 7th grader in Tallahassee school system. My third son, my youngest son, is Tim. Tim lives in Seattle, Washington. He's a criminal investigator for alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and actually purchased a home on an island outside of Seattle. So my daughter, who I love dearly, She lives in Orlando. Her name's Raye Ann, and she works at SeaWorld. She works in the education department. She's a graduate of Western Michigan and works there, and just been just a shining light in my life.
Wow.
So that's kind of what's going on with my kids. They're all doing well. They're all healthy. All just really good people. So I'm very proud of them.
Well, you know, my kids, I kind of felt the same way, you know, just growing all these companies. But I also found out, you know, I spoke with each of them as I was writing this book, and I said, yeah, I didn't make everything, but did I make, you know, and they said, yeah, but all three of them told me this, but Dad, you made the main things. And I think that's what, you know, we have to look at, Coach, you know, when we're people who are giving out of our time and attention to help people. There is a sacrifice, but I think our kids ultimately respect the idea that we never stopped loving them, and you know, we made as much as we could, and so that's been good to hear. You know how you work through that. You talked about your assistant coaches. You know, and I remember Larry Wiltsey and Ron, and I remember Coach Teal. He was a kind of a stinker. I remember when I was in junior high. He told me, he said, you know, and I didn't know this, that he told other athletes this, but he told me, he said, you know, Coach Marsh has his eye on you. I'm probably 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. He goes, he thinks you're going to be a great hurdler. I probably ran over, 4 or 5 hurdles my whole life. And I said, really? And that really, I thought, man, Coach has got him down here starting early. You know, but that influenced me to say, you know, I want to please this Coach Marsh because we had a great reputation. When I put on that Kearsley High School attire, and which, by the way, was really nice, I wore it with pride. And I think most of the folks from Kearsley, we look nice. We not just in our dress, but I mean we took care of our things, and we took pride in wearing the Kearsley High stuff because of the reputation of track and field. And
absolutely, and that's, you know, that's why you keep going back to that word. And I always go back to the word of pride. I mean, take pride in what you're doing, and things are going to work out. And you know, we had pride. You know, always wanted to come up with a different uniform or just something that would stand out, just to continue the Kearsley pride that we established, and it was very, very important to me to do that, and so I did it in various ways. You know, I would put things on the window, the Star of the Week. I would do any kind of thing to promote our program, to motivate our athletes. I just felt that was really important, and again, it's all about pride.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I look at some of the fun things we did too. You know, you not only did we have our meets, but then there was those special relays like the Mansfield relay and Bloomfield, you know, Hills, and all those different relays that you took us through, and those were fun. I remember just going and spending the night at Mansfield. I have some vivid memories of just some hilarious things. that
I do too. I can remember one about you, Kenny. So.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you might want to share that one.
Yeah, we Mansfield Relays was kind of a unique event because it was, first of all, it was a tremendous track meet. It was, you know, Jesse Owens, who was such a famous track and athlete back in 1936 at the Berlin Olympics. Well, Jesse Owens ran in the Mansfield Relays. He was originally from Cleveland area, so that was a kind of a prestigious meet that it was. And so at Kearsley, we would take a few athletes to it because it was such a high-quality meet that we didn't take everybody. We'd take good relay teams, and I remember we had a shuttle relay team that were Huron Relays, which was another big meet for us, an indoor meet, that my shuttle hurdle relay team made up of Kirk Lukeman, Barry Glasgow, of course Kenny Mauck, and Tim Pearson. Those 4 individuals won that at Huron Relays, so I felt that, hey, these guys deserve to go to a big outdoor meet. So we take them to the Mansfield Relays. Mansfield Relays was unique in the fact that the townspeople bought into the meet also, and they would house the athletes, so we wouldn't have to pay for motel rooms and things like that. So families would come the first day and house athletes. Well, Kenny Mauck was one of the athletes who was being housed with a very nice family, and so I'm sure that they enjoyed Kenny because of his personality. But one thing happened at the very end of the visit. Kenny was being dropped off at Mansfield High School the last day from the family, and they pulled in a line where they were supposed to get out to the left side of the car because there was a lot of traffic going on. Kenny decides to get out of the right side of the car, opens the door, and in the meantime, another car is coming along and takes the door off. And so I'm sure that the family parted ways with not a real good feeling about Kenny. But I'm sure
I mean,
they realized it was an accident, but it was kind of funny.
Coach, I tried my best to apologize, but I don't think he was having too much fun. It was the worst feeling to just stand there, to sit there and look outside.
Yeah, but it was one of the funniest. There was a lot of funny things that happened at Mansfield, but yeah, that in my mind is still ingrained. I heard the story and I goes, "What?
Hey,
what happened, Kenny?" Sorry, Coach.
Coach Timmy Pierce and I, we will laugh till we're crying when we think about that now. But it was not funny.
I'm sure. But going back, that was an excellent relay team. Those are four of the best hurdlers that I think I ever put together, at least on one team. I had other good hurdlers, but I think Glasgow and Lukeman and Kenny Mauck and Timmy Pearson, that was probably the four best hurdlers I could ever assemble at one time. So, like I said, I had good hurdlers every year, but not four of them. So, anyway, that was a fun thing. Kenny, and how many years ago was that? And I still laugh about it. I mean, it's still funny to me. I still think about it. I was just talking to Coach. Actually, I was with Dave Teal 2 days ago, and I mentioned that to him, and we had a laugh, of course. Anyway.
Well, that was the fun about being at Kersley. You motivated, and I say this to business people who are listening, and that you didn't just wait for you were always looking for a good athlete to be a part of the program, and I look back at that, and it didn't just happen. I have one of our board members who recently we're celebrating 21 years with one of my companies, and he said, Kenny, this doesn't just happen, and it's the same way with you, Coach. It doesn't just happen. You're every day, looking for another athlete, I'm sure, doing pole vault, or working with the girls program. I remember you were working down there with some of the females, and it's always looking for an athlete who can, help round out your program. And it's the same way with business, finding good people. And so that's been helpful to me in recruiting some of my own staff, is making sure I find people that have different giftings and skill set. And that's what makes a team, right?
Well, and I think that it doesn't matter if it's pole vaulting or business. Right. And I look for good athletes, but number one, I look for good people, because I realize that they're going to be with me for 4 years. I want to have people that are cooperate with their teammates, with their coaching staff, and so forth. So, and our university is pretty strict in terms of academics anyway. So I have to recruit good athletes, but also good students. And most of these kids, because they're both, they'll end up doing a good job for us. So those are the kind of people I recruit. I'm sure those are people you recruit in your business life too.
Well, I look at, the Greg Hoops, Bernie Mayfield, I go through, the list, Jim Stokes, what great people on top of just, being good athletes, they're just wonderful people. And, we all have benefited by having a coach that was there. And, for instance, you came to my wedding, you came to my When I had my graduation, you sent us a gift, and you went above and beyond, and not everybody does that as a coach. And that's what stands out to me, is that you were not just a coach, you were a mentor of life for me. And one of the greatest times of my life is I'll never forget, and is just being a part of a team that had a great coach that motivated me. And I know there were some people that motivated you in your life, and I thought maybe I could kind of end up with, on that note, just kind of tell us some of the people, because Coach, you had some people who spoke into your life, and that's I'd like to know a little bit about them before we close up. If you could kind of share about them.
Yeah. Well, like anything, Kenny, you mentioned some of the, the hardships you've gone through in business and promoting yourself and your business. It's the same thing in track and field coaching. There's been times when I've got very discouraged about things, whether not so much the athletes, but administrative type things, and
sure.
I'm talking about where you've got bosses that you have to deal with, and sometimes they don't agree with what you're doing for whatever reason. And there were times when you get kind of discouraged and think, well, maybe I've been doing this long enough, and maybe it's time to shut it down and whatever. But people, especially I mentioned one person, my wife Betty, who's always told me, I don't want you to quit this. This is what you do. This is what you are. So, she's many times motivated me to continue to do this. When I get a little frustrated with things that are going on or whatever, she said, no, you're not quitting this. This is what you do. This is how you help people. So I appreciate, that motivation from her.
Right.
And yes, or anybody else will. And like I said, the two people in my life, my coach, my high school coach, my father, these people kind of either supported me in my running career when I was in high school and college, or what happened after college. My high school coach, he was the one that encouraged me to become a teacher and a coach. He thought I would do well at it. Well, I had so much respect for him because he was a second father to me, and I could always go to him. Even he was a very successful coach, not just a track coach, but his football career. He actually, before he retired, he won 34 straight football games. I mean, this guy was a legend in our town. I mean, everybody looked up to him. Most people were afraid of him because he was that kind of individual. And but some reason I wanted to run track. I mean, I wasn't very good at the beginning, and he stuck by me. I mean, I never thought about quitting because you didn't quit on this coach. I mean, you just didn't do that. So I didn't quit. I was not he wanted me to be a distance runner. I was terrible as a distance runner. Well, then he found out I could run fast. So, everything changed. But the whole thing, the thing was he supported me even when I wasn't running very well. So he was just a big influence on my life. My father was a very quiet man. He was no rules type of guy, but you always knew that you didn't want to do something that would disrespect my father. So that's always been kind of the back of my mind. I want to do things that my father would certainly approve of, and not do things he wouldn't approve of. So even though he was a quiet person, I would see him at track meets, standing like out of the way, not in the way, never saying, never criticizing, or never asking why I didn't win a race or why I won a race. But always, I knew he was there to support me in a quiet way. So I think those two people, and like I said, my wife, who's always supported what I do.
Well, that's important to have encouraging people in your life, and I'll just say this as we're about to kind of round out. I work with folks that are handicapped. We have a team that works with handicapped folks here. We have kids that are on the street that we make sure and try to get homes with. And I remember one time I got called down to one of our rehabilitation places, and I met a young man who did not have any arms or legs, and I was helping just he couldn't even talk either. And the biggest thing he had was his smile. And
right.
I remember him looking around, and he made everybody's day just significant every time he walked into the center. And this one particular day, I did not realize how much of an impact he would have on my life. So when I run, and I tell my kids who've been involved in sports, or people that I work with, we have so much to be thankful for. And I just cannot tell you how much you've meant to me. You've been one of the most influential men in my life, and I just have been looking forward to this time where we could share, and hopefully we'll get the video along with this, because we'll get you back on when we at least get some video, because I want to be able to look in your eyes and tell you how much that you've meant to my life and meant to so many athletes. And when this book comes out, it's going to come out November 1 of this year. I'm looking forward to giving you in the first books and signing it.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be wonderful.
Because you've been a great motivator to my life, and this time this morning is monumental to me, because it means a lot. So I appreciate you taking your time this morning.
Yeah, and thank you so much for including me. And it's just great to talk to you, Kenny. I've always thought of you as just a really, a good hurler, but even better person. And hopefully we can run into each other sometime. And if you're in Tampa or whatever, or up here in Michigan sometime when I'm here.
Well,
actually, I'm going back to Tampa tomorrow. So
I know. We'll edit some of this in out, but I'll just tell you, my brother-in-law thinks the world of you, and he has a grandson.
Right. I know his grandson. Right.
Yeah. But
yeah, I've watched him and Brad together. So.
And but you've been an influence on Brad too, and he's gotten some allocates as a coach too. There at Goodrich. I think he's trying to get up close to one of your records, if I'm not mistaken. But he thinks the world of you, and your impact there on my own nephew's son is pretty special. Just to be a pole vaulter and not even see. I can't pole vault and can see, much less.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
So that young man, that I just thought I'd share that you've had a big impact on not only me but my family too. So.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Well, listen, have a great day, Coach, and I'll be looking down there at the University of South Florida, checking in on you, and hopefully.
Life Imprints Podcast. Legacy stories that live beyond. Turn up the volume on today's riveting story with your host, Kenny Mauck, at kennymauck.com, and leave your life imprint with your legacy story.